We are rolling live. Week 2. Okay. All right, first question of the morning, folks. Who here is suffering from a little neck pain? Does anybody have a little bit of whiplash just because of how fast things went by in week 1? Anyone? Anyone feeling it? No, a couple people, but not too bad. That is good. That's good. I'm very pleased to hear that, folks, because it's like I said in week 1. This month is in many ways you're going to be your most challenging at Full Sail, and it's for the simple matter because you're there's a lot going on. You're starting a new school, new class, new online program, and not to mention you're dealing with all these new departments like the student liaisons, me, and financial aid, all kinds of craziness. Throw in your lives into the mix and your part-time jobs and your full-time jobs, it can get a little rough, right? So I'm sorry, folks. Now I was talking about time management. Yeah, get it down. Get it down before it gets you. It's a monster. Now, not to scare anybody, but that is typically the number one hurdle. Not just in month 1, but in all of your classes. All right, let's roll. Let's do this. As always, I am recording this session, so do not panic. And if you're well, hopefully everybody's networking and reaching out to everybody, getting to know everybody. Um, um, what I encourage people to do is just exchange emails or whatever during the during the discussion boards. Typically in these sessions, I'd like everybody to just try to take notes because I go through a lot of stuff and I don't want anybody to miss anything. But yeah, after the session, just reach out to everybody, and if you know somebody who hasn't attended a session, tell them that they're very helpful and that I usually go through the assignments and stuff like that. Alrighty, so let's do this. And as always, I always post the recordings on the announcements shortly after the live session ends, so keep an eye out for that. Oh, thanks, David. I'm pleased to hear that. Very often, many students do say that, and that's why I always encourage everybody to attend. Because some people, like myself personally, when I'm reading over like instructions, whatever it may be, a new software, new hardware, whatever new little toy I get from my studio, I can read through instructions just fine. But it's nice to have somebody kind of walk you through it. You know. So let's talk about the 1.4 and 1.3 grades, right? How everybody felt about that? Everybody good on that? That is good. So typically, I don't start grading those until they are all turned in, until the deadline expires. So like Sunday, Sunday they are expired, right? So Monday I begin to grade them, and so typically I usually have them all graded by Wednesday. So keep an eye out for those. You should see grades trickling in for those all day long today and tomorrow, and yeah. And if you have any question about that, just please don't hesitate to email me. Cool. Yeah, it's a lot of grades, so um, I generally just try to get them out to you guys as fast as possible. Alrighty. Okay, let's move right along. Just wanted to give you a little heads up about where we are for those assignments. Okay, so in today's session, we're going to be talking about a lot of cool things, and a couple of those cool things are the 2.3 and 2.4 assignment. I'll be showing you guys some samples and talking to you a little bit about that as well. So yeah, hang in there. We'll be discussing those. I'll be clarifying some of the instructions. And so at the top of the page here, I have listed the 2.3 assignment, the emotional storytelling assignment. The first part of that is due tomorrow. That is due tomorrow. And your reply posts are going to be due Sunday. So in other words, you're recording. It's kind of a recording. The assignment, the 2.3 assignment is a recording. Can you guys hear me? Okay, is my audio breaking up? Okay, cool. Good. That's good. All right. So yeah, I'm going to be talking a little bit more detail about that in a few minutes. And so your reply posts for that are due Sunday, as you know, is the case with most of your discussion assignments. So another thing about the 2.3 assignment, try not to choose the same topic as another classmate. Like, let's say you jumped on the discussion board and you see that somebody decided to talk about, I don't know, Dead Space, their favorite video game, or The Last of Us. You see somebody already decided to talk about that. I would recommend just choose another one. Just choose another topic. The great thing about this assignment is that there are the choices of what you could talk about as far as your favorite piece of art or media are pretty wide open. It could be a favorite song, a favorite video game, a favorite movie, a favorite opera, film, sculpture, painting, any piece of art, any piece of art. So yeah, I don't want to go over that too much right now, but you know what I'm saying. Just give me a few minutes. Be patient. Sorry. And so the last thing that I wanted to mention on this slide is the 2.4, the planning a presentation assignment. That is due Sunday. That'll be due Sunday, folks. Alrighty. Okay, so a couple of just really kind of big reminders as far as the 2.4 assignment goes. So number one, please don't use a presentation program for the 2.4 assignment. In other words, don't use something like PowerPoint or Keynote or Prezi for the 2.4. And the reason why is that the 2.4 assignment isn't a presentation. It's basically just a plan. You're going to be sketching out a plan of how you intend to approach your first draft. And like I said, don't worry. I'm going to be going over this in a lot more detail in a bit. I see a question in there. Devin asks, is 2.3 just a discussion or a recording? Good question. The 2.3 is a recording. So the first part you're going to be turning in tomorrow is a recording, and then on Sunday you'll be turning in your reply posts. So you'll be kind of like checking out what other people talked about and just kind of give them feedback on what they talked about and stuff like that. This is the 2.3, folks. The 2.3 assignment is by far one of my favorite assignments because I learn so much about you guys. I learn I learn a lot about oftentimes movies and video games that I didn't even know existed. Yeah, I'm a big nerd. But anyway, more on that later. Let's see here. Okay, so yeah, the 2.4. Back to the 2.4. 2.4 assignment is just a plan, the planning a presentation assignment. So don't use anything like PowerPoint or Keynote or anything like that. All right, folks. So as far as using, I'll be going over that in a second. Hang tight, folks. I promise I'm going to be clarifying lots of questions in a bit. Thanks, folks. I know you guys have a lot of questions, but I appreciate your patience. So more on the 2.4. So back to what I was saying. A presentation program such as PowerPoint, like Keynote, Adobe Spark, that's totally fine for the first draft. It's totally fine for the first draft, but not the 2.4 assignment. And lastly, please don't hand draw your 2.4 assignment. I'm going to show you guys a couple of different applications and programs that you can use for the 2.4, but I just asked that. Well, it's not me, only me, it's our entire department. We asked that no hand-drawn plans be submitted. You know what I'm saying? So the reason is so often that when we receive hand-drawn plans, it's very hard to see the writing. It's hard to see the writing. A lot of times, people will take a picture of their hand drawing, and it doesn't quite come out. You know what I mean? So, like I said, I'm going to show you guys a number of different applications that you can use for the 2.4 assignment. Cool. Alrighty, let's see here. Okay. All right, where was I? Alrighty, no hand drawn. Okay, so one more thing about the 2.4 assignment. One of the big things, since it's a plan, look at it like a hurricane plan. Like when you hear that a major hurricane, a potentially catastrophic hurricane is coming to town, a lot of us will develop a plan. It might not be like some people might, do a really, really elaborate plan, but most of us will do a plan. Okay, like I need to get this and I need to get that. I need to make sure I have enough of this and that. Where am I going to go in case this happens, and so on. That's kind of look at it this way. Look at it that way. The 2.4 assignment is a plan in which you're going to decide on things, kind of answer things, and do a lot of research as far as how you're going to approach the first draft. The first draft assignment, the assignment that's due next week, sorry, you're basically going to be building a presentation where you're going to pitch yourself to a potential employer, a potential company that you might be interested in working for. So, for example, this is just an example. Let's pretend that my dream is to work for Bethesda Games when I graduate. Now, the main thing to do for this plan, is to research the heck out of the company. Jump on their website, see what jobs they have open. Even if the first job, even if it's not your dream job, check it out what their company demands of their employees. In addition to that, In addition to that, I'd like you to research other companies that are similar to Bethesda Games. Research their founders. What was their journey like? Research some of the company owners, the CEO. Where did they go to school? What did they study? What was their journey like? Learning that stuff will arm you with so much knowledge for your first draft. You're going to know what you need to know. And you need to know what you're going to need to know. I know it sounds really redundant, but it's very, very, very true. And it's important for just 1,000 reasons. It's important for next week's assignment. It's also important for when you graduate, because folks, your time here at Full Sail will fly by. Not simply because it's an accelerated program, but you're going to be working very hard, and before you know it, it's going to be graduation time. So now is the time to really know your industry. And let's say, for example, if you don't plan on what, I don't want to work for a company. I want to open up my own um, music production label. Okay, well, you still should research some of the top studios and labels in your area. So research some of the top studios in your area, find out what they have, find out what their engineers know, find out what their CEOs, what their journey was. What do they know? Where did they go to school? What did they study? What are they proficient in? So again, knowing that type of knowledge is going to arm you, as far as like knowing what to talk about, knowing how to pitch yourself. Because you could have the best idea in the world for a video game. You can have the greatest idea in the world, and you can pitch it to Bethesda, or whatever, EA, Insomniac, I don't know, okay, Blizzard, whatever your dream company might be, and you can pitch that just fantastic, unique, once in a lifetime idea for a video game, but they want to know what you can do for them. They want to know what you know. Like any interviewer, the interviewer typically wants to know two things: who you are and what you can do for their company. Right? So this assignment is all about researching. The more research you do, the more knowledge you're going to arm yourself with, and that's the best thing you can do for your career. Even if you're in business for yourself right now, even if you have your own business, I don't know, maybe you are a web designer, you have your own, web design company business. Um, it's still extremely beneficial to research other companies, research your industry, because the tech world, the entertainment world, it's evolving constantly. You know what I mean? Um, duh, 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 duh. So, for this assignment, I'm going to show you examples. For the 2.4 assignment, I'm going to show you examples of how you can format it. Cool? Yeah, this is just another example as far as, some important things to know for the 2.4 assignment. If you're going into game design, research companies that you'd like to work for, research what they require proficiency in, what software is a must to know working for them, what hardware, how many years of experience do you need to know to have? Do they offer internships, right? And again, same thing if you're working on your own company, if that's your dream, if you want to start your own video game development company, you have to research other companies. You have to research, small ones, big ones, the majors, and so on. The other thing that I like to strongly emphasize for the 2.4 assignment is to research your degree program. You would be surprised how many people don't. They'll kind of like skim through the classes that they're going to take, in their degree program. But but I recommend, I can't recommend not enough, just download the brochure and with a fine-tooth comb check out every single class that you're going to be taking at Full Sail from month 1 all the way up to graduation. Again, it's all about being prepared. It's all about arming yourself with the knowledge. Okay, this is what I'm going to be doing in month 5. This is what I'm going to know. This is what I'm going to be proficient in month 10, and so on. So the way to do that, and you don't have to do it right this second, but when you're working on your 2.4 assignment, folks, jump onto the main Full Sail website. Go to the main Full Sail website. Go to your specific degree program. Like if it's game art, click on game art. If it's audio arts, music production, whatever, click on that. Once there, you should see an area, I think it's the left-hand side of the page, where you'll be able to click on a downloadable PDF file. Good question, David. Yep, I'm going to be showing you guys some examples about the 2.4 assignment. So, yeah. And I think everything's going to look, make a lot more sense when I do. But again, I appreciate your patience. Thanks, folks. I know you're anxious to know. I promise I'm not trying to torture you. All right, let's see here. Okay. So yeah, the other thing I would recommend doing is don't try to answer the questions of the 2.4 assignment until you've done your research. Definitely, you always want to have your instructions open, but that's like one of the first mistakes people make is they'll try to just like go through the instructions, and answer them in their own words. No, that's not what you want to do. You want to make sure you're researching them. You're researching every question as you attempt to answer them. All right, so as far as what programs you can use, what applications you can use for your 2.4 assignment, here are just a couple. And I'm going to show you guys how to format them in a sec. But there is, of course, you can use Microsoft Word, you can use Google Docs, you can use Poplet, you can use MindMeister. All right. So I'm going to show you guys these programs in a second. All right. Okay. I'm sorry. I did have to mute it for 1 second. I was coughing my lungs out. I'm sorry, folks. I'm pathetic. I know. Okay. All right. So let's take a look at Poplet first. Now, again, these are samples of different programs you can use for your 2.4 assignment. Cool. Everybody can see this, right? Can you guys see this screen okay? All right. Let's take a look. See Poplet. Where are you? All righty. Okay, so I'm going to show you guys Poplet. Now, Poplet is for iOS users. So if you're a Mac user, Poplet is the way to go for that. If you have an iPad, iPhone, whatever. I'm going to also show you a similar program for those who are not on iOS, for those who are using PC or whatever. And I'll show you another example in just a bit. But Poplet, again, it's for Mac, iOS, iPad. What Poplet is essentially a mind map application, and it's perfect for the 2.4 assignment because it allows you to start with your small idea and kind of branch out into these little bubbles, these little poplets, as they like to call them. I'm going to show you guys how to do it in a second. So the great thing about these mind map tools is they're really user friendly. They're cloud-based applications. There's no downloading going on. And like I said, you can't break it. You cannot break this program. It's really user friendly. It even has a step-by-step tutorial, like so. Watch this. I'm going to click on try it out. Try it out. Go away. So it's telling me what to do right now. See, folks? Double click to make a popple. Next, type in a popple. Hello. Next, change a popple's color. Next. Then I can even change the color. And I can make the text smaller, bigger, larger. Hello? See? I could draw in it. And I can even include a picture in it. See how they did that? It's really quite cool. And like I said, I'm gonna try to do it right now. Let's change that color. All right, let's start with black, shall we? Okay, so let's say we start with our big idea here, right? And then we branch out into our smaller idea down here. Now we can change the color. I can make a subcategory, and I can branch out even further into other subcategories. I can change the color again, branch out again, make another subcategory here. So this is why it's kind of cool. Let's change this color so it doesn't get confusing, right? And we'll do gray. All right, so subcategories, you can move it around. You see what I'm doing here? Now, the reason why this is a pretty interesting option, hang on, folks, is because it allows you to branch out and to kind of like stand back and look at everything as a whole. That's why we don't recommend using something like PowerPoint or Keynote, because it's not a presentation. You're not going slide by slide by slide. You're looking. It's a map. Essentially, it is a map, and like with most maps, you have to kind of like stand back a little bit to see the full impact of the map. But say, for example, as we are attempting to answer some of the questions of the 2.4 assignment, let's bring that baby up. Hang on one second. Where are you? Did I just close it out? Okay, see? So I have before me the instructions of the presentation plan. So here are a few of the questions. I'm not going to go over every single one, but one of the central questions of the 2.4 assignment is, who is your target audience? So let's say, for example, that could be your first question. That could be your first question or subcategory, right? You can type in target audience. And then, of course, you have to answer that, like, who the heck is your target audience? See what I did there? Let's do orange. Does anybody see what I'm doing? And of course, you have to answer it. So there's all kinds of things that you can do with this, but the main idea is for you to build a map answering these questions all along. Who is your target audience? In this case, let's say it would be, I don't know, I'm going to just throw a company out there. I'm going to say Pixar, right? So Pixar would be my target audience. Who are they? Give me a little bit of brief background on there, on who Pixar is. What do they need that you can provide? And of course, this is all based on internet research, sir. So Google the company that you've chosen, look for their company website, job listings, blog mentions, what's their corporate culture like, etc. And what is your true message, right? Devin, what do you mean? What slide thingies? Well, these are all instructions, so these are all the downloadable instructions. Yeah. So the main thing that you want to think about for the 2.4 assignment is you want to make sure you address all of the questions. And you know that whole that saying less is more? That's not the case with this assignment. Less is more does not apply here. The more specific, the more elaborate you can be on your responses, the better your plan is going to be, and the better it's going to help you out in the long run. If you just throw in brief answers, it may make sense to you now, but next week when you sit down to work on your first draft, you're gonna be like, wait, what the heck did I mean there? What? You know what I'm saying? So the more elaborate your responses, the more specific and detailed you can be, the better. So again, make sure you address all of the questions in as much detail as possible. Who's your target audience? Who are they? What do they need that you can provide? What's your true message, your big idea? And so on and so forth. Cool? So this assignment, the main thing that you want to think about is organization. Try to be organized with your responses. Try to be organized with your thought processes. All right, so I'm not going to go over every sentence in the instructions because I want to show you another program that you can use, another mind mapping tool. So going back to Poplet, whatever. As I mentioned, Poplet, I kept saying Pop, sorry folks, but is for iOS users. Now, let's take a look at MindMeister. Now, MindMeister is for if you don't have iOS, if you don't have Mac, sorry. This is the way to go. Now, it's the same idea. You're starting off with your big idea in the center here, and then you're branching out into subcategories. But it's essentially a mind mapping tool. Now again, MindMeister is for PC users, Android, whatever. Now, this MindMeister actually has a little kind of like virtual tutorial that walks you through it the same way. Now, again, it's the same principle as Poplet. It's just for different users. See, check this out. This little sample right here, it's actually building it as I'm talking to you. Really, really user-friendly. And again, you can't break it. It's all about, you just got to jump into it, jump into the program, and just kind of like start pressing buttons. It's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. Now this is for PC users. It's another mind mapping tool, but the same principle as Poplet. Cool. And this is called MindMeister. All right. And as always, as I mentioned earlier, I am recording this entire session, and you will be able to find the session. I'll post it as an announcement on the class page. Cool. All right, folks. Now, I'm not going to go through MindMeister, too much detail either, because it's virtually the same idea as Poplet.com. You're starting off with your little idea, and you're branching out into smaller bubbles, branching out into further subcategories and so on. So again, MindMeister and Poplet, two possibilities. Now, let's say you don't want to use a mind mapping program. That's totally fine. That is totally fine. What you can do is just use a program like Microsoft Word and write everything out in outline format. This is a student sample where they use Microsoft Word. Now, this 2.4 sample received very high marks, and one of the central reasons is because they were very organized and very detailed in their responses. So, for example, target audience. The target audience is the executives at Netflix who have the power to decide which TV movie scripts are greenlit. They want someone with creative and original ideas who can sell themselves as well as their script. Netflix would be ideal because I'd be given more creative freedom as opposed to working for a network, and so on and so forth. So you could tell they did their homework. You could tell that they researched a company for that one specific question. Now let's go on. The true message. Again, all the student did was they went in the instructions and they answered all of the questions in a significant amount of detail. That's what I'm looking for. That's what you want to do. If you decide to write it in outline format, really be focused and thinking about, okay, I need to be organized and I need to be detailed. Look at the organize and look at the detail. Organization, sorry. Look at the organization and detail in this outline. Everything's broken up, clearly spaced, clearly labeled. I can find everything very easily. My future self. Let's scroll down a little bit. I'll pause it here. I'm not going to read everything word for word because I am recording it. So, and unfortunately, I can't put this up for download because it is a student's sample, but you will have the recording. All right, so presentation flow. This is, again, another category in the instructions that you have to answer. Sorry. Moving right along, beginning. And here they're just talking about how they plan on developing their first draft. Kind of like, okay, here's what I'd like to talk about in the beginning of my presentation. Scroll a little bit further. Here's what I'd like to talk about in the middle of my presentation. Now, I'm not saying you have to write out your script exactly word for word what you're going to say for the 2.4 assignment, but you should have a pretty good idea. You know what I'm saying? Does that make sense? So for the 2.4 assignment, I don't expect to see a word for word script, but I would like to see a pretty general idea of what you want to say in the beginning, what you want to say in the middle, and what you want to say at the end. Let's scroll down a little bit more. Star moment. That is another big component to your presentation or to any presentation. If you haven't read that portion in the assigned reading about star moments, you need to make sure you brush up on it. It's very, very important. Very, very effective technique for effective presentations. Okay? All right, so this is the way to go if you don't want to use a mind map. You can write it in outline format. But if you do, I just ask that you make sure everything is organized, everything is clearly labeled, and everything is detailed. Make sense? So for something like this, you can use Microsoft Word, you can use Google Docs, you can use Pages. That would work just fine. All right, so let's take a look at a student sample mind map. All right. Okay. All right, so this is a sample of a mind map from a student. Now, again, this one received high marks as well because they were very detailed in their responses. What I recommend doing, and that this will, I'm gonna navigate through this in a second. Just give me what I would recommend doing, and it's going to help you out immensely. Is what I recommend is if you decide to do a mind map, what you should do as well is an outline. It's going to help you because again, you can't write out a big, huge paragraph in a mind map, and you might need to. Like I said, this assignment is about research and it's about finding details that you're going to need to talk about. So a mind map, that's one of the disadvantages. It doesn't let you kind of like elaborate on your responses. So if you decide to go with a mind map, I would attach an outline with it. All right, so let's take a look at this sample. Mobile developer. This is where we start. Who are they? They are a mobile developer. Who is their target audience? All right, we got a couple of subcategories here. Target audience, owner, CEO, team leads, someone who will decide if I'm worthy of the company. Oops, sorry about that. Team members. All right. And let's branch out a little bit further down this map. What do we have in common? Again, all they did was they went through the instructions, question after question, addressing each and every question. They started with who is their target audience. They broke it up nicely. Then they went on to what do they have in common with the target audience. They share an interest in the same industry. They're both looking for the right fit. They both want to move forward in the industry. And of course, they have different experiences. Moving down, what do they find interesting in the industry? Mobile applications are predicted to drive $77 billion in total revenue by 2017. Including those statistics are very interesting. Sorry about that. Including you don't have to include a ton of statistics. Like if you're presenting to a company, you don't want to give them a history lesson, right? You don't want to give them a history like, okay, let's say I want to work for Steven Spielberg. Would it be smart to give him a history lesson about film, where films first started and where they've, what they've become? No, he would roll his eyes and probably kick me out the door. Same idea with any company. It's okay to, shed a little bit of knowledge about who they are, but that's it. Then move on. Move on and talk about why you're a good fit. All right, moving down further with this mind map. What am I bringing to the table? They broke this down nicely as well. What am I bringing to the table? Full Sail presented a thorough, evolving curriculum that provides a complete study of the processes used in professional application production. I am bilingual in English and Spanish. People don't include that enough. If you know a second language, by golly, include that. If you know sign language, if you know Braille, just include that. Bring a different insight and perspective. Different insight. That doesn't mean, what I would discourage you to say is, I'm young and I can bring in fresh new ideas. Maybe they don't want, maybe they want a seasoned person, right? Somebody who's seasoned might have more ideas. Anyway, okay, moving right along. So the hardware and software skills and Android, Apple, right here. This is where I am, folks, in case you kind of went a little bit too far ahead. designing intuitive, usable interfaces for varying screen sizes, right? Okay, so let's scroll a little bit further down. There's star moment. Here they talk about their star moment. Use how much movies make in US compared to internationally to emphasize what happens when you reach a bigger demographic. Use visuals to make a greater impact. Use analogies to put the stats in perspective. A couple of shocking statistics, that's definitely helpful. But they should be shocking. We wanna tell them stuff that they may not know already. Okay? So let's just scroll up a little bit just so you can see. I don't want to read every little sentence here. This is mainly to give you a general idea of what applications you can use and how you can use them. Cool? All right. So let's go back to the center here. Okay, so like I said, it's definitely helpful if you decide to do a mind map. It's helpful to also include an outline. Alrighty. Okay, so this is a mind map, folks. This is one option. The other option is, sorry, folks. Where is that sample? Is this? You can write it out. You can write out your 2.4 plan in outline format. Um, All right. So, okay, so I showed you guys some different applications you can use for the 2.4 assignment. Now, let's talk about how to share this with me. Now, mind mapping tools, the programs like MindMeister, like Poplet.com, you don't have to pay for them. For this particular assignment, what I need from you guys, it allows you to use it for free. Now, if you want like more advanced features, they do offer more advanced features, but of course you have to pay. I'm telling you right now, what I need, like the sample that I showed you earlier, that was used using the free version of MindMeister. So please keep that in mind. You don't need to pay for anything. Now, what you need to do though is you need to share the link with me. If you use a mind mapping tool like Poplet, like MindMeister, there's an option. It's different for both programs, but it's usually you just look for the category that says share, how to share a Poplet, how to share my MindMeister map, how to share my mind map, and it'll show you, it'll tell you exactly how to share it with anybody, with me. So what you do for this assignment is copy and paste that link into any document you want, like a Word document, a Google Doc, whatever. Copy and paste that shared link onto the document and upload that document. You see what I'm saying, folks? Okay, cool. Like say for example, fire up a Microsoft Word document, and then you copy and paste your Poplet shared link onto that and upload the Microsoft document. And remember, you don't need to pay for Poplet. You don't need to pay for MindMeister unless you want those advanced features, but you don't need to have the advanced features for this. Cool. All right. A lot of those, like if you don't know how to share the link, a lot of those have like little help sections on their website, and you just look for the help section, and it'll those are like a little forum that'll has a lot of frequently answered questions and so on. All right, so let's talk about the 2.3 emotional storytelling assignment, huh? Right. So what I did for you guys, and you don't have to do that right this second, but definitely after the session ends, I want you to go to the 2.3 discussion board. I made a post there, an important post, and I posted 2 sample 2.3 presentations. I did that because I wanted to give you guys a general idea of how you can approach this assignment. So one of those samples was created by me. Anybody check it out already? It's okay if you didn't, but as long as at some point after the session, please make sure you check out those samples that I posted. So the first one was created by me. I created an iMovie. You don't have to use iMovie. You can if you want. You don't have to include visuals. It's optional. You can include a picture of yourself, or you can include a picture of whatever the favorite piece of art is. That is fine. So my sample presentation, I decided to talk about I'll be honest, it was kind of a tough thing to talk about, because I had so many different things to choose from. So I was like, all right, if you have to twist my arm, I'm going to have to talk about The Walking Dead. So my whole presentation is about The Walking Dead, why it's my favorite piece of art. Cool. Megan. Coral. So that's one sample. And like I said earlier, I decided to use iMovie. I do have visuals in my presentation. I used a script. I wrote out a script. It might not sound like I have a script, but I actually did write out a script, and I actually am following the script. I can't stress that enough. I strongly recommend writing out a script first. That way you can make sure that you're addressing the questions in the instructions, because there are questions that you need to go over. And the instructions, like, when was the first time you found this favorite piece of art of yours? Why do you feel an emotional attachment to it? That's another question. Now, if you don't want to include visuals, like I said, you can turn in an audio-only example. It can be just an audio-only example. That brings me to the second sample that I posted for you guys. The second sample is an audio-only sample. There's no pictures in it. It's just the student talking about their favorite piece of art. That's another way to go, and that's totally fine. Does that make sense? So what you do need to have is a recording of yourself talking about your favorite piece of art. I wouldn't recommend recording yourself. You're like filming yourself. I don't recommend filming yourself because it's just really distracting for you guys. What I've noticed in the past is, it's hard to kind of like stare at yourself and record yourself. Am I right about this? It's distracting, and we could find ourselves stumbling. We could find ourselves like pausing. You don't want to do that. You want to keep the presentation moving. So if you have experience doing it, then that's fine. But I think filming yourself is quite challenging because you have to think about a whole new set of like issues. Like you have to think about lighting. You have to think about what's in the background. You don't want to be sitting where there's going to be a lot of distractions from your viewer. They're supposed to be paying attention to you, right? So okay, so cool. So the main thing you need to have for this assignment is a recording of yourself, of your voice, talking about your favorite piece of art. Visuals are cool. If you can throw in some visuals in there, great. If you don't want to, that's okay. That is okay. Like I said, I included an audio-only sample. All right? Okay, so another thing I want to talk about for this assignment, for the 2.3 assignment, is the fact that it's a story. I want you to tell me a story about your favorite piece of art, your favorite piece of media, whatever it is. I don't want it to be, I don't want it to sound like a biography, like where you're telling me about, um, I don't know, Def Jam records, you know, one of your favorite hip hop songs, rap songs, or whatever. Um, I would rather you tell me a story about the first time you heard that song from, you know, from the label. I don't necessarily. You can tell me a little bit about the company. That's fine. That is totally fine. But I'd rather hear you tell me a story, like the first time you heard it, what it meant to you, and so on. Does that make sense? Um, okay, cool. Sorry, I'm trying to get to these questions. I'm sorry if I missed your question, folks. The only downside to this control panel for GoToTraining is the chat box goes by really fast. So if I didn't get a chance to address your question, please don't. I'm not ignoring you. I promise. I promise. It's just it goes by so fast. Somebody asked me if I'm a gamer. That's a tough question. Personally, I have to have an extraordinary amount of self discipline when it comes to video games, because you guys, those of you who are gamers and love to play, that you know that an hour just won't cut it. An hour is like you're barely scratching the surface. So so if Eddie begins to play video games, we're talking like 3 to 5 hours. It is very consuming. Yeah. Um, do the answers to the questions have to be in order? Uh, the only reason why I suggest doing that is that way you know you're getting to all of them. You know what I'm saying? But to answer your question, Devin, as long as you are addressing all of the questions in the instructions, you're fine. You're fine. Okay. So yeah, I don't want the 2.3 recording to sound like a biography. Like Blizzard Games was developed by blah 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 blah, and the year blah 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 blah, and then they developed this game, and then they developed that game, and so on and so forth. Right? Um, yeah. Just tell me. That's why it's called the emotional storytelling. The other thing I want you to do is write the title of what it is. Like when you're submitting your file, write down what it is that you're talking about somewhere in your submission. Jot it down on the file, jot it down next to the file. That way, there's no doubt. You know what? Just what's happened a bunch of times is I'll get a presentation, and a student will give the most amazing presentation about the most life-changing movie that they've experienced, and I'm on the edge of my seat listening, and I'm dying, and they say my favorite movie is and I'm like, what did they say, what did they say? and and for the life of me I can't figure out what they said. So that's why I recommend, please write it out, and then when you do mention what you're talking about, just make sure you articulate it to where I can hear you, and I can enjoy this awesome song that you're talking about, you know. um, okay, and lastly, yeah, like here's an example. I chose to talk about the video game The Last of Us, kind of like that, right? Just jot that down somewhere in your when you're. I know, right, Samantha? It's it's a killer. I mean, not like, you know what I mean. It's a very emotional game. All right, I digress. All right, let's see here. Okay, so script. Yes, please, folks, write yourselves a script. Write yourself a script first. The reason is you only have 2 to 3 minutes to talk about your favorite piece of art. If you don't have a script, the problem is you could start to improvise. And when you improvise, you're going to end up falling short or running over the time limit. You're going to lose points. You're going to forget to address some of the important questions in the instructions. So yeah, you want to make sure you write out a script first. Once you do that, time it. Once you feel that you've written out a solid script, read it out loud to yourself and time it. Time it. Make sure it's 2 to 3 minutes long. And rehearse it. Rehearse it. I don't expect you to read it word for word, but the idea is the script is going to help you stay on track. The script is going to help you stay focused and remember to say what you need to say, right? And like I said, for the sample that I included on the discussion board where I talk about The Walking Dead, I had a script. I had a script that I was following. What I like to tell people is you should know your script so well that if I asked you to read it to me over the phone, I shouldn't even be able to tell that you're reading from it. You know what I mean? And of course, articulate. Please, especially when you're telling me what it is that you're writing about. Alrighty? Okay, so a couple programs that you can use for this. Obviously, if you're a Mac user, there's GarageBand that typically comes with your Mac. A lot of people just use their phone, and they'll just kind of like import the MP3 MP3 file. There is Audacity. Audacity is a really awesome program that a number of students have used in the past. Just type in Audacity online program in your browser and it should come up. It's a free online audio program, and it basically does the same thing that GarageBand does. It allows you to record, edit, chop up, all those kind of things. That's one of the really awesome things about recorded presentations is you can edit something. If you feel like you got you have a long pause in between your sentences, you could tighten it up with a program like Audacity. Or if somebody like dropped a refrigerator while you were trying to record, you can edit that sound out, right? David, that's a good question. David said, do we have to complete the 2.4 before the 2.3? Now, the thing is, the recording portion of your 2.3 assignment is due tomorrow. The reply post of your 2.3 assignment is due Sunday. The 2.4 assignment is due Sunday. So yeah, I would probably start on the 2.3. Start on the recording portion of your 2.3 because that's due tomorrow. Cool. All right, so Audacity is definitely an option. And the great thing about Audacity is there's tons of online tutorials. Like if you want to use Audacity with PowerPoint, jump on YouTube, type in how to use Audacity with PowerPoint. You will actually see quite a few tutorials pop up. Really awesome. All right. Okay, so the other thing I would like to encourage you to do is I would avoid talking about something that you made. Like if you painted something or if you wrote a song, it's because one of the central questions is, why are you emotionally attached to this? Well, it's kind of a given that you're going to be emotionally attached to it if you wrote it, right? So we want you to explore different things. So I would encourage you to choose something that you've encountered for the first time. it's going to make for, it'll be easier to tell it as a story. You know what I'm saying? So avoid talking about, an original song that you wrote, or a painting that you made, or something like that. Tell me about your favorite piece of your favorite painting. Where was it that you first encountered it, or a song, or film, or video game? The possibilities are pretty huge. Cool. Alrighty. So this is just as a reminder, not to freak anyone out. I just like to give, little heads up. That's all. So next week you're going to be working on your 3.4 first draft. I'm going to be going over it in more detail. I'm going to be showing you guys some samples and talking about it in a lot more detail as well. But your first draft, that assignment will require a presentation program such as PowerPoint, Keynote, Adobe Spark, sorry about the hyphen there, or Prezi. And those of you who, I think a lot of you already know about this, but if you don't, all Full Sail students have a free Office 365 account. And Office 365 has Microsoft Word and PowerPoint and all those cool things. The other thing I'd like to recommend is, let's say you're a little rusty. Let's say it's been a little while since you've built a presentation, or you want to know how to use Adobe Spark. Lynda.com has awesome tutorials on PowerPoint, Keynote, Prezi, Adobe Spark. So Lynda.com is free to Full Sail students. The way to get there, and I think I mentioned this last week, but just as a reminder, to use Lynda.com for free, just jump onto FS Connect. I'm going to type it here in the chat box to FS Connect, then go to the library, then Lynda.com. That's the only way to use it for free. So FS Connect, library, then Lynda.com. If you try to use, like if you go to Google right now and you type in Lynda.com, it won't recognize that you're a Full Sail student. So this is the way to access it for free. Cool. So yeah, definitely after today's session, I would recommend, get your feet wet with Lynda.com. Start thinking about some of the applications that you might want to use. A lot of students have used Adobe Spark with some great success, and they've used Audacity as well. So maybe you want to use it for your 2.3. That's totally cool, right? So now's the time to get inspired, because I don't know about you guys, but if I wait to be inspired, I might be waiting a long time. I have to put myself in a situation and force myself. I have to make appointments for myself. That's how I work. I don't know about you guys, but I make myself appointments every day to compose, to work on music every single day. And sure, even if I don't produce a masterpiece in the first 5 minutes, to be honest, the first 5 minutes when I'm working, it's brutal. I'm often like, oh my gosh, this is terrible. What the heck am I thinking? What the heck am I thinking? But eventually I will, I'll find the inspiration that I need. I'll find the right sound. I'll find the right sample or instrument, and I'll be on a roll. I'll get going. I'll get started. That spark will finally be produced. So that's what I want you to think about. Whatever it is, right now is the time to do it. Whether you're watching movies or drawing, or TED Talks is another way to go. I've seen so many mind-blowing TED Talks. Really great stuff. Right? So, as you're developing your first draft, or as you're in the 2.4 assignment definitely kind of forces you to think about your audience. Who is your audience? Be thinking about this one concept. And this is the last thing I'm going to talk about. The audience is king. It's not necessarily all about you. You're pitching yourself, but you're also thinking about what they need. The more you think about that in terms of what they need, it kind of brings off the pressure from you. It's about connecting with them. And how do you connect with them? Right? All right. So, like I said, folks, at 1.4 and 1.3 assignments, those grades, you're going to see those trickling in all day today and all day tomorrow. I'm doing my best to hammer those out as fast as possible. All right. And the 2.3 recording, that is due tomorrow. And the reply posts for the 2.3 are due Sunday. When's the 2.4 due? Yes, you got it. You got it, folks. Now, what are we not allowed to use for the planning a presentation assignment? Exactly, Justin. Presentation software. So anything like PowerPoint, like Keynote, it's better if you use a mind mapping tool like this. Hang on. I'll get there eventually. There we go. Remember those options. Here are a couple of options for you guys. All right, folks. But that is about it. I ran over time a little bit, but I wanted to make sure that I showed you guys some of those samples. Don't forget to check out the samples I posted on the 2.3 discussion board. I am using a Mac, Blake, to answer your question. Shelby, I'm so sorry that you had experienced some audio issues. What usually happens, sometimes the connection might not be so great, but usually the recording comes out a lot better. So like if you were in the session live and it didn't sound great, the audio might have been breaking up, usually the recording doesn't have that problem. Cool. Folks, thank you so much for being so patient. I know I talked about a lot of stuff. I'm gonna stop yapping now. Have a wonderful day, and like always, please don't hesitate to email me if you have any questions. Alrighty, you take care, folks. Have a wonderful day.